When I look at my childhood and look at the experiences of a lot of people, be it Americans or Germans, maybe a little bit different, but still, there's so much trauma, there's so much incapability of really connecting with each other, loving each other in a mature way, And I think in what is happening in the world right now, also the development of AI, it's so interesting and wonderful to reshape what does it mean to be human.
When I look at that relationship between intuition and creativity, it's funny to even talk about it because it's kind of two words for the same thing. They're both expressions of the soul. Creativity is very intuitive and intuition is very creative. So they're both these natural expressions of our soul, and one guides the other.
I would say that my intuition was the best, if not the only resource I had to rely on for safety and for truth. And when I got to school and later in university, I definitely discovered that not everyone would see the world like I see it and see other people like I see it.
Hello and welcome to The Higher Vibe. I'm your host, Jean Roorda. I'm having conversations with psychic friends, and today I have with me Alexandra Sorgenicht. She's the founder and director of the Center for Intuition and Intuitive Life in Cologne, Germany. Hello, Alexandra.
Hello, Jean. Thank you for having me.
Oh, welcome. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you today. And I do apologize if my German accent did not say your name correctly.
Oh, it was...
Will you say your name for us?
Yeah, I'm Alexandra Sorgenicht.
Sorgenicht. Thank you.
Perfect.
I gave the Americanized version of that.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
And I hope I said Jean right.
Right. You can say it however you want. Oh, Alexandra, will you just introduce yourself in terms of sharing with us how you came to your own path of studying intuition, being interested in the inner life of your intuitive self, and then coming to teaching it eventually as well?
That's a long story, and I try to...
Yes.
Try to not make it an hour. I don't remember not being intuitive, honestly. I don't remember. And I'm often asked, like, what is the first time you experienced your intuition? I don't know how to answer that because it's never been something not me or new. I grew up in a pretty insecure environment, and I would say that my intuition was the best, if not the only resource I had to rely on for safety and for truth. And when I got to school and later in university, I definitely discovered that not everyone would see the world like I see it and see other people like I see it. I was pretty disturbed in school, because the concept that we got taught there was like satisfied with the rational mind, and there was so much more that I could see, all the complexity, and it was not covered. And so I was a very bad student. I was like, I don't know. And because of my traumatic childhood and youth, I had therapy, and that helped me understand some destructive patterns I had and destructive patterns that I chose relationships in, etc. And still, I couldn't, really talk about how I saw the world. And still, it was the best resource I had, and the main resource, my intuition. And it was, I think, only when I was 35 that I started basic training, like a 5 years intuitive training with a wonderful Dutch lady. And I immediately felt home. I never, in my whole life, felt home like that. I understood, I could do it, it was easy for me, and I finally could say what I see, and people weren't offended anymore.
Oh, that's such a joy to find your people, right?
Yeah, and so that was the beginning, these 5 years. Like already in the first year, I was thinking like, I don't know, I had so many years of therapy, which was wonderful. I'm into therapy, it's a good thing. And at the same time, I was like, but this is something different. If it helps me that much to really feel home in myself and in the world, I see it with my colleagues. I see it with the people I am giving sessions to. And there was nothing comparable in Germany. And I was like, it can't stay that way. And I wasn't thinking about that. So I started to put it in the workshops I did for women back then. And immediately after I finished my basic training, like the 5 years in which I became an aura reader or intuitive reader, I just started teaching, very naive. I didn't know anything about groups dynamic. I just taught. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the secrets and joy of teaching in the last 20 years. Yeah.
Learning as we go. It's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love that. It sounds to me like rather than discovering you're intuitive, it's like you're already intuitive, but discovering who you are, maybe recognizing right away you might be a little bit different than others, operating differently. Highly intuitive people do kind of stick out as a little bit alien, a little bit different than the average person. Yeah. Not to make us special or different, but it's like when you already operate that way, you recognize there's something different about the way I think, about the way I see the world, about the way I navigate in the world, about the way I make decisions, all of these things. So it was more of a process of self-discovery and self-healing. And I love that you just immediately started teaching because it's just a part of who you are.
Yeah, I never thought, I'm going to have a center. I was just like, what? So, and the Dutch lady was pulling back from Germany back then, and I thought, somebody has to do it, and I wasn't thinking about that back then.
Are you still the lone pioneer of intuition training in Germany?
Actually, the term intuitive training or Intuitionstraining is understood very broadly. Mainly, it's understood like the gut feeling or knowledge of your experiences that you can have access to like in nanoseconds. Right. That is like the mainstream understanding. And there are a lot of people who do that kind of thing. And there are, of course, a lot of spiritual teachers. I proudly say that from my center, there are a lot of trainers and teachers who teach. It's maybe not called intuitive training, so that one is called Intuitive Women, one is called also Intuitive Life, like my institute is called. She's in Kenya and operating from there, but also online. There are a lot of people who came from that and like teaching.
So your center has birthed many other teachers.
Yes, very
wonderful.
Yeah, it's something I am happy with.
Yay.
Yeah. Me too.
So the inspiration for starting your center, it sounds like, was really, this isn't happening and it needs to, right?
Yeah.
This information, this way of learning and healing and growing, you felt so connected to it and so inspired by it that you just naturally wanted to make sure it was available to others.
Absolutely. And, because like everyone is intuitive and it's not special, definitely not. And at the same time, definitely in Germany, it's very special to talk about that, to be visible with that. Still, it has shifted the last years, but still it's brave, to openly, not only in your bubble, where we all sit on our passions meditating, but openly talk about that and share that reality. And for me, it made me so happy to finally be able to speak to the soul, to someone, and having that someone not being disturbed or offended or scared or ridiculizing me, but but really
it's refreshing.
Yes, it's refreshing, and to have you see that desire, you see that desire, and that was my truth. I really followed back then. I think that a lot of people have that desire to be who they know they are. So I wasn't really thinking about that, just
following your natural path of being yourself. Love it.
I guess so. Yeah.
Do you find that there's a lot of interest in Germany? Are people really hungry for that kind of information that it sounds like isn't as readily available, or maybe it's a little bit unique and maybe still a little bit misunderstood, or
Yes, more and more so. I mean, like there's always been a huge interest for spiritual techniques and meditation and mindfulness and all these kind of spiritual path possibilities. And for intuitive training, I got a little bit, how do you say that, surprised by my own success, like by that massive interest. A few years ago it got very big, and because I also think like what was important for me, like from the start, is like how my center is called right now. To me, the most important thing in all that is the intuitive life. And that is who I am, you know. I'm very much about creating. Yeah, about creating, about living. Yeah, enlightenment or epiphany is wonderful, and I'm always interested in, and now what then? What's next? Yeah.
So what do you do with
Not like push or rushing, but yeah, and how
Right.
we embody it and what
Yeah,
comes
how to
out of
share
that
it, express
wisdom and how does it shows in your relationships and your life and stuff. Yeah, that's also like why that interest was a bit overwhelming, honestly, because I'm also a filmmaker, and I hadn't had the possibility in 10 years to make any films, which is a little bit it's
So
bittersweet.
you got a little more busy than you planned.
Exactly. It's bittersweet for me. Of course, I'm not going
Yeah.
to complain, yeah, but I had to reshape what I was doing and really revisit what I was doing and how I was doing it. And yeah, I mean, you constantly actually do it as a spiritual teacher, I think, because you're growing yourself the whole
Staying in
time.
present time. Like this
Exactly.
is what feels for me right now, where my creative
Yeah.
energy is
And
alive.
yeah. And to come back to your question, back then when students were just like a lot of numbers, you know, they were mainly interested in their, of course, like in their own path and their self-healing, etc., which is, yeah, wonderful. And the interest I get now more and more is like really, okay, what is that intuition thing? What can that mean for us as humans, like as a collective? And this is wonderful for me because this is what I'm really interested in. To be honest, this is what I'm really interested in. And because when I look at my childhood and look at the experiences of a lot of people, be it Americans or Germans, maybe a little bit different, but still, there's so much trauma, there's so much incapability of really connecting with each other, loving each other in a mature way, you know? And I think in what is happening in the world right now, also the development of AI, it's so interesting and wonderful to reshape what does it mean to be human. Yes. And this is what I'm interested in, like from the bottom of my heart and my soul, I think, the most.
Yeah, it's such a deeply important question right now. What does it mean to be human? Mm-hmm. Yeah, what distinguishes us from these machines? And it really is that inner beingness that our intuition comes from.
Yeah.
There's no soul in an AI.
No, this is something AI won't be able. Never, ever. It's thinking much better than we are. And for a long time, at least in the intellectual world, we thought, okay, human means what distinguishes us from other species, what makes us superior.
Right?
Is that so funny? Is that we are able to rational thinking, you know, thought, and I mean AI is like what got to hold my beer.
Yeah, they're quickly surpassing us in that regard. So it really does beg the question, what makes us human?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and to really touch upon like intuition as that factor that sets us apart. Not that, I mean, AI can sometimes seem very intuitive because they're coming up with ideas very quickly and kind of almost in a psychic way, like they can read your mind. But there's no soul there, right? There's no unique inspiration or creativity. It's really just pulling ideas that humans have already fed it, right? So it's that inspiration and creativity. Will you talk to me about the connection between intuition and creativity?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. Thank you for that question. You know, when I started, both areas of my life, like filmmaking, which is very creative, and the intuitive world, also both were asking me, what is that? Like, what is that other thing that you're doing there? As if there was no connection, you know? And maybe it has to do also with this German, excuse my language, but a little anal thing, you know?
Yeah. I get it.
Being very correct in everything, you know, because I was looking for a space. So I asked a co-creation space where there were journalists, and they were like, yeah, interesting filmmaking, and then called me like 5 minutes later. We looked you up and we saw this website. What is that? What are you doing? And no, we can't have you here. We are very, really serious in our work, you know. And it's the same thing. At the same time, like from the the other side, like intuitive people were a little bit like media, isn't that kind of the enemy or something? You know, yeah, at least in German, they're a little suspicious. And how is it possible that you're really out there in the world and creating and sometimes working your ass off, and at the same time being that meditative and intuitive person? Yeah, how,
no fan kind of person.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Huh? And to me, it's inseparable, you know, because creativity, where does it come from? Yeah, I mean, like, where does it come from? It's, of course, your soul level. It's, I have this image, and the soul speaks in images a lot, and I have this image of this film, and I have that knowledge that this film will create something in the world, and I am more than happy to be the channel, yeah, for that. And it's creativity is nothing that you can control. If it's really creative, you can't control it. It's just coming, you know,
It's not
coming, and you're doing
like,
it, and you have to be, yes, you have to be very disciplined in the process, at least in the finishing of the stuff,
right.
you know. But it's so,
and
yeah, it's just almost from a mystic realm that it's coming, like the ideas and how you know that you have to move and shift and then tweak stuff. And I am, in the way I teach, the focus is intuitive life. So that is the other way, because like when I do films or when you were creating things, you make stuff tangible that's only like on a feinstofflich would be the German word, was it? Or like only on an energy level. Before it's on in your soul, nobody can see it. Yeah, nobody can see it. It's, and you describe it, they will see it a different way. But when you create
say the German word again, I want to hear it.
Feinstofflich.
Okay. And that roughly translates as energy level.
Yeah, that will be definitely a very beautiful American word. I don't know. Yeah, and you make it tangible, and through that, you know how real art creates universes in people. They always had, but they didn't know they had, and that is the same thing that an intuitive reading does, or maybe just being with a psychic, you know. And so it's, for me, it's intertwined. Also, the protagonists of my last film complained a little bit of my way of directing because I wouldn't direct anything. I would just open spaces, and they were like, what the heck? What kind of
so they wanted to be direct, they wanted to be told what to do or what to say,
yeah,
and
I
you were
just
like,
wanted to see them, you know, and that was yeah.
Ah, interesting. So you kind of wanted to see how creativity unfolded, how things intuitively unfolded, and
Yes.
your characters were like, tell me what to do.
Yeah, it's documentaries I make. So,
Okay.
and scientists, like female marine scientists, yeah, that were the last one. And some of them, others could immediately see what I was doing, but some of them were a little, tell me what to do.
Yeah, yeah. So some of them weren't as matching the intuitive energy there.
Yeah.
Love it. When I look at that relationship between intuition and creativity, it's funny to even talk about it because it's kind of two words for the same thing. They're both expressions of the soul. Creativity is very intuitive and intuition is very creative. So they're both these natural expressions of our soul, and one guides the other, you know, one directs the other. So
Exactly.
intuition guides our creativity, and creativity really informs our intuition. And
Yeah, I love how you said that, like it's two words for basically the same thing.
yeah, I like to invite creatives into my intuitive training world just because I find them to be already intuitive. You know, it's like, hey, look how psychic you already are. Let's just, you know, give you some tools for navigating it, or for discovering, you know, having more self-awareness around it, or grounding it, really, bringing it more into the body, bringing that creative soul that you are fully here.
Are you creative also? Are you drawing or something?
So I write a lot. A lot of my creativity has been expressed in the world of my mothering, being a mother. You know, I have 3 kids, and
Wow.
some of them are fairly grown. I have a teenager and an adult son, but then my youngest is 11. So a lot of the creativity is just in that world of family, you know.
Yeah, that's a lot of complexity to.
Yeah, all of the unseen things that mothers tend to, you know, and the cooking and things. I'm not much of a cleaner, but a cook. Tending to the lives, like as mothers, we create for our kids, you know, not everything, but in terms of like making sure they have the support they need for school and friends and connections and community. So
Yeah, it's such a complex space, you create for a human being to grow up. I can't imagine something more creative, honestly.
Great humans. Like how you said, as a spiritual teacher, you're constantly like remaking yourself, really getting into present time with who you are and how your creativity is being expressed in the moment. I find that I definitely do that as a teacher as well, and as a mother, to just be in present time with this human that I'm helping to raise up. Like, who are you now? Because they grow so fast, and more of their soul comes in and gets expressed, and then I get to see how they're interacting with the world and what kinds of energy they're taking on from the world. And
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, have to stay in present time for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Good. I write poetry. I think a lot of my creativity comes out in the writing form, and of course in communication.
Beautiful. Can I read it somewhere? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so I have a little bit on my website, and I have a book of poetry I'm going to publish sometime in the next year. It's in the works.
Lovely. Yeah, what I love about poetry, prosa, is it called like that in English? Prosa, like fiction? Yeah. Prose. It's beautiful also, of course, and poetry, it can really like have the immediate access to your soul or your heart in a way that prose sometimes can, when it's poetic.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, can't wait for that book.
Yay, thank you. It's in the works. I've written a lot, I just haven't put it out there very much. A little bit on my blog, and then I've had people encourage me to maybe make a Substack or something. And I really like physical books. I like the artistry of just an actual book. So I'm going to make that.
Yeah.
How about you? So, filmmaker?
I haven't made films in 10 years because intuitive training kept me a little busy.
And but you did write, right? You also have a book?
Yes, I published a book in like 2 years ago. 2 years and a bit? Like 2 years? No, 1 year ago.
So, time flies.
Yeah.
And it's about intuition. Right?
It's about intuition. Yeah, it's about intuition. It's not a fictional book. It's about intuition. Like what we call a Sachbuch here in German. It's about what intuition is and why nobody really knows, at least in Germany, what it is. And how we can change that, and how I think it is important to change that, and how it works. It has a lot of exercises in it, little exercises. And, the most important thing, I think, was my decision. I was sitting there in the water through that writing process, and I was thinking like, oh my God, I don't want to write that book. It's so boring. It's boring. All this theory, patriarchal critique, etc. And, it's important and it's boring. And I was just sitting by the water. And so the beak just said, yeah, you have to write about yourself. Write about yourself. Yeah. And I was so scared, but that's what I did. I brought my story in that and how intuition worked for me. Also, I got permission from a lot of students of mine to tell their stories. And I had a lot of teachers that would be with little kids. And one teacher, she told me amazing stories, like how easy it is for children. If they learn like 6 years, 7 years, they learn that everything is right with them and that they can see energy, that they can move energy, that they don't have to carry anything that they are not. I'm almost crying, but that was so touching, and also like my story is a story of overcoming and becoming, and all my students is that they remembered who they are, and yes, it was a process. It's not like that, epiphany and that is it. No, it's a process, it's work, and then, but being rewarded with a life that they, like really fulfillment and love and relationships and work they wouldn't have thought being possible for them. So this was like, it's meandering like story, theory, exercise, a little test, people love that, like
Ooh.
getting numbers and then where I am, just because I really didn't want it to have that. It's not for professionals, that book. That book is like for everyone who thinks, oh, I don't know, I'm just interested in something is going on there and I don't know what, just starting out. And that's what I heard from all over the place, also from Switzerland, not only Germany, where people are inviting me doing workshops and like doing on intuitive leadership and stuff, because I think this is what really lacks us. Mindfulness, wonderful, meditation is wonderful, but that intuitive life thing, how we get, this is movement I always make from here to here, how we come together in that.
Right.
And I tried to do that in that book. I made myself pretty naked. Yeah, that was scary. But I thought, like for an intuitive, I'm naked anyway. So what's the thing, if I'm not being an example for that? Yeah.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
That's really the best way. It's because you're teaching through demonstrating. Like this,
Yes.
this is the path, and this is how I did it. Just being really real with your own process of embodying.
And so it probably will work for you in your just very own way. I don't have an English version so far, but I have an English astrologer who's also capable of German, and she read it and she loved it. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, hopefully it will get translated into many languages.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, just in German. But the title, it sounds like if you were to roughly translate it, is Intuition, How to Find Your Voice, the Voice of Your Soul, right? You said the title is How to Find the Voice of Your Soul and Self-Empower Your Life.
Yeah, it's about that. I don't know how to live a free and self-empowered life, something like that. Yeah.
Living free, self-empowered life. Love it. I really love this step you've taken of bringing that intuitive training, bringing it fully into the body and expressed, right? So rather than it just being about learning intuition, it's like, how do you live that way, right? It's not just about, oh, we're going to give a reading or we're going to discover more about ourselves, but also all the way through to then how do we live that way? How do we live from that place of our soul? How do we communicate from that place of our soul? How do we relate from that place of our soul with all the other souls? And so important. And so much about, as you said before, you're very interested in this, how do we kind of recreate society really in a way that is intuitive? Because that is definitely the direction we're headed, rather than living these intellectual makes me laugh, just the energy of the intellect where we're figuring it out. How do we do all the things, right? And everything is in these boxes. And when we live intuitively, it just flows, and it really opens a lot of doors for society to live more creatively. And all these solutions, like all the problems we have now, I think this is really not a big problem. If we just live intuitively, all that creativity can flow to create all the solutions to all of the perceived problems.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is part of that method that I created there is I used to be like a coach with a systemic approach. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like if intuitive training or like spiritual gaze to the world or to humanity, I mean, what is it if not systemic? But in a broader context, if I see myself part of the system, the cosmic system, the divine system. Earth is also part of that system, and it's all related. And what does it mean for our behavior and for the way we relate and how we think about ourselves, like as humans, but also like a partner or a mother or a dog mom, like I am, or a teacher. And it has a beautiful way to intertwine the awareness of is it greatness? Is that, I may think it's a wrong word, but who you really are, and also the humbleness of who you really are. It's like one thing. And that's lovely to see it, like when you see like the bigger picture and the really bigger picture in a systemic way. I love that.
Yeah, I love that you pointed out the greatness and the humbleness of that, because it is so much both. When we see who we really are, we don't have to be small anymore. We see how much we're capable of and how much really creative power we have. And yet that's humbling because everybody has that. And look what we can do with all
Yeah, and it's not about me. Yeah, that's also the thing. It's not about me, like me being a master, which is a very colonized kind of concept, but a colonized kind of like imperialist, how do you say that in English? About just that's who I am, and it's the one who's taking care of, like rescue dogs, such a huge soul. It's not comparable, that kind of thing. It's just like one net. Yeah, the humbleness also, I think it's a good thing. If you look at your students or in the world, it's like everybody is like in their own system. In their own system, in their own color.
Their own creative expression.
Exactly.
And everyone's so powerful and so creative.
Yes.
And so,
yeah. And it's so intelligent. In the many ways of creating that unique life.
yeah, and so capable. I love too the point about humbling in the sense that you see that you're part of this, that greatness is the whole that you're a part of. And that's humbling in the sense that for me it just inspires service to the whole, right? And so when we all see that just naturally restructures society, because we're all living from that place of how can I serve the whole, right? Not excluding myself, right? It comes from our own well-being. But when I live from that intuitive, creative place, how can that support the whole?
Yeah.
Wow, life will look very different, and society will look very different the
Wouldn't
more we
it?
come to that place.
Yeah, like 10 years ago, and I was invited in Berlin in some kind of fancy place, and I remember when I asked them there, like, how would you imagine, like, how would the world be different if we would all be intuitive? And when it dawned on them, they got very scared.
Oh, it's their
Because that's why I said fancy place. It's all this societal programming of who we have to be, and there's so much shame on all that we are, and we think we shouldn't be or have programmed to not be. And especially when you're in a fancy place, you want to look fancy and you don't want to be naked,
So much control to let go of too. I would think that would be scary.
And it worked as a shock back then, but I think it's different. It's more, the desire is more tangible. The shame has gotten a little bit less powerful, and the desire to have that kind of relatability that is in the nakedness.
That reminds me of that Anais Nin quote about the flower. And now I can't remember the exact quote, but
Und es kam der Tag, an dem es schmerzhafter war. I was thinking something about the bulb and the flower, and staying in the bulb, and painful, and the flower, and I don't know. It's like that.
I'll have to look it up. Yes. But it's like that desire to grow becomes stronger than the fear. Yeah. And so the energy it takes to remain in that tight bud is not strong, and there's more energy in the growing and the opening. Yeah. And I feel like we've really reached that place as a collective over the past few years. It's like we're staying in the tight bud, it's time to grow.
And it's been, I think, a few years that in my teaching and in my role as a spiritual teacher and doing that kind of spiritual work, like integrating what I did with trauma-informed work, body work, systemic approach, etc., like having all this integrated, I felt pretty isolated. I learned that from other spiritual teachers I talked to, that this isolating, I think of isolation as a thing, as an issue. A lot of them experience, and that's so interesting, because I think we really do need community. We really do need community, especially in the time that we are living through now. Absolutely. I think community is so important, and I think it's really an old programming to compare, and who's doing it right, and that is something that was a pain of me for a few years, and sometimes still is. But I think that is also something that was important for me, because we are all like spiritual teachers, like who we are as a soul, as a person, And I found a few who are also openly, let's put it like that, creatives, like being somewhere in the corporate world doing some creative event stuff or something like that, or artists or writers, living in these two worlds which are one, but act like two worlds.
Yeah,
Gives a
yeah.
certain kind of framework that, yeah, it helps when you have people you can talk about that. And that is only possible, I learned after, yeah, also understand like from what kind of spiritual background do I came from in this life and other lives. Yeah, and what is my programming in that, and becoming aware of how I am programming people. Yeah, and also like being easy with that, you know. It's we're all human and we are cannot exist out of what manifestation does to us, the 3D world does to us, and it's so empowering if we are giving ourselves permission, at least that was for my case, to just be myself and teach the way. That is Alexandra, also being a creator, also being an entrepreneur, and it was very liberating. But I needed other people who had the same experience to letting go of a certain kind of shame, you know. I had like, I'm not doing it the right way. It's not right to be in the world, yeah, to be at the street, to be openly, to just don't be too afraid to market what you're doing, you know, stuff like that. That was, yeah, a very interesting process, and it's still ongoing. And I love it. It's so liberating, you know, because at a certain point you're just, I mean, you're psychic, so you can't fit to someone else's picture.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe a collective picture, how spirituality has to be, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and this is the evolvement that we are all like going through, and it has there are so many layers to that. But,
Yeah, no, I just love what you're speaking to, that it's both the personal and the collective evolution. I think historically spirituality looked like you kind of separate yourself, you know, you go into the cave or the monastery or the secluded place, and you go within and you find spirit, but then maybe not reconnect because then you're so different. Yeah, then you're like this alien in the world. But then now, both personally and collectively, we're in community. How do we be spiritual and human at the same time? How do we allow our spirituality to inform how we're living in the world, but not isolate, right? Be fully in the world.
yeah, and I mean, of course, you can be, in German we'd say contemplativer Orden, you can be a nun, right? I mean, that's perfectly fine. And that's not what I am about, you know.
Right.
Sometimes I wish I would, but maybe that's past life.
I think you've been there, done that, right? Been there, done that.
And now it's really, yeah, like in the world, and you know, and don't be afraid of, you know, what we used to polarize. Like I'm not afraid of the business world. I'm not afraid of leadership. It's everywhere where the world is shaped. I think we need to be. I mean, like, who wants to be there? Of course, yeah. But I work like in my one-to-one sessions a lot with CEOs and really pioneers and tough guys, you know, and they are so grateful, and like grateful in a sense like a sponge. Yeah, they're really like, yeah. They're working with their spirit guides now. You know, they look at the projects on an energy level. They see antagonists in a different way. You know, not antagonists, but okay, I can give you a hello, and let's see what's coming out. Okay, synchronicity, maybe yes, maybe no. So much more relaxed and much more connected with themselves, much healthier, and so thus healthier also for the world. And yeah, not tapping into that polarity thing, like ourselves also, right? Like who is right, who is wrong, and what in the world is right and what is wrong. But
really letting go of so much judgment and just being a businessman or a lawyer, or, you know, those things aren't separate from being spiritual.
No, not at all. It's
fully
from somewhere, you know.
Yeah, being in the world. I think this saying that I'm very familiar with, maybe you've heard, is to be in the world but not of the world, right?
Exactly.
So you're still being spirit, but you're not needing to seclude yourself in order to be spirit. You can fully be that and be in the world.
You know what you said, like in the beginning, you said that a lot of like intuitives, highly intuitives, experience like being an alien kind of.
Yeah, an alien.
And I always think it's like, you know, because we had an image of the world, the way we see ourselves and the way we see the divine and other souls, and that is how we see the world, and this is not happening, you know, and we're just like, what's going on?
We have this vision for the world, and it doesn't appear to be happening.
And at least for me, I would love to be in service, being part of creating a more space for that world that has no fear of being connected on a soul level, of being naked, because naked is beautiful, you know. Yeah, and this is also why I'm not afraid of like the big tough CEO guys.
Yeah.
Because they shape, they also shape the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an important, aspect of society to be able to be in communication with and support and influence, because
Yes.
that is where a lot of the change comes from.
Yes.
Is those bigger
Yeah.
players, so to speak. And if the bigger
Yeah.
players are allowing that creativity and intuition to inform their life, that's going to make some big impacts
Yeah.
in our
Yeah.
society.
Yes, and because it's, yeah, big players, that was the right word. Just right. But
You can say it in German. I love to hear it.
because it's, yeah, it's, we also use player actually. But it's mostly men. And the beautiful, like not only, but mostly like because that's an image, like a mirror of society, how power is distributed. And through their intuition, they get a lot less afraid of their female side. That's also something, I think, a benefit for the world.
You have to embrace the feminine to allow intuition.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really brings balance.
Yeah, I don't know if we are still on that path that you wanted us to be. Has there been a question? I don't know.
Well, that's okay. I don't even remember the question that inspired this whole talk. I think one of the questions
wonderful.
was the connection between intuition and creativity, which is all, of course, within the realm of inspiration.
Yeah.
But I love that we brought in just how to really embody that and share that in the larger world and not make it a separate thing for just the quote spiritual people. But to recognize we're all spiritual because we all are souls.
Yes.
And we can really bring that into the larger world and support larger global systems change just through saying hello to intuition and creativity.
Yeah, and creating.
How powerful we are as creative beings to really find the solutions and create all the change that's needed, that's more supportive of life on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for working in that world.
Same to you.
I just work with whoever's drawn to me, but sometimes I have a picture like I'm too goofy for maybe CEOs. If somebody's coming from a very serious place, this is just my picture. It might not be.
I think so. I mean, at least for German, I would say that aspects, now terms, eyes, I'm very goofy.
No good. Yeah. I have, I laugh a lot, sometimes not at appropriate moments.
Yeah, that's because we talk, like when we talked before this talk, we talked about the differences, right, of Germany and US, and yes, and humor is one thing that could be different.
Yeah. So is Germany, is German culture in general more serious?
Yeah, that's what everyone says,
That's what everyone says. Do you find that to be true?
No, not at all.
Just a stereotype.
I mean, we've been so serious, and I mean, look at our guilt that we carry. I mean, we have to have humor. Otherwise, we would just drown in in guilt and stuff. And we have, yes, of course, we have a lot of comedians, very good ones, very good female comedians. And what I learned, in this work, spiritual work, I can only compare Dutch humor, US humor, and German humor. And we're a little bit darker, I think.
That's really interesting, though. Really calling out
sarcastic. Yeah, it's not. We maybe not laugh so much than what I learned from Americans. What is appropriate in American and US lessons to laugh a lot. We do a little less, I think, and it can be very dark. The humor. It's just a little less, I think, but it's sharp and dark.
Yes.
Yeah, it's also, it can be very just funny and stuff, but I think German humor I would point out as dark. Yeah.
Dark. And does that mean direct too, really going to the deeper level of things?
It's very confronting, but with a twist. It's confronting and really hitting the pain, but with a twist. So
Yeah. Softening the blow.
yeah.
That's great. I love that. I'll have to listen to some German comedians to get a taste of that. Although if it's in German, I will need a translator.
Yeah, maybe you can look one up for you. Yeah.
Yeah, look a German comedian up who's doing it in English. Do you know any that speak both languages and speak to any American
Yeah,
crowd?
I know Hazel, she's German, Hazel oh, I forgot her name. Hazel
Yeah.
Bruggen something. Forgot, but she does both and she's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you see the direction of your center taking now that you really shifted into this intuitive life, like focused on bringing intuition just into your daily life? Where do you see the direction going in terms of expanding and sharing and including your own creative endeavors into your own intuitive life as well?
Yeah,
Give
you
any-
know, that's pretty raw what I'm going to share now because it's maybe a little too early for words. But I will do it, I will try to find words. Yeah, honestly, I think for 20 years I've been on this mission to create a space for intuition to become mainstream. And I think I'm done maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think because there's so many great teachers I'm so proud of, you know. I,
You've birthed a lot of
I
teachers.
birthed them, but you know, like
They're their
everyone,
own.
they're just whatever.
Inspired might be a better word. You inspired.
And,
I'm a mom, so that word birth just comes
yes.
up. But you inspired a lot of others. Yeah.
And yes, I would love to share. Still, I'm passionate about sharing about intuition, but in a different way. I experienced that, like really in a different way. I have a 4-year-long training for intuitive trainers, and part of that is like a 2 years training for people like who want to work with other humans, you know, like doctors, psychotherapists, coaches, nurses, etc., etc. I also have like a program that's just called Intuitive Life. If you're really like just wanting it for yourself, you know, just enjoy your intuitive life.
Yeah.
And, you know, like before I did all kinds of workshops and like spiritual midwifery program and hands-on healing. And I have one channeling master program, which would be called Transmedium in the US.
Yeah.
And maybe it's everything like I don't do it again, I think. Like maybe the 2-year program, yes, the 4-year program, yes, together with the teachers, yeah. I have, or that were working with me, but it's more about like talking and maybe creating stories, you know, coming back to that creative part of me who's really wanting to create. There's an urge in me, you know, telling stories. And because the publisher asked for a second book, and I was like, yeah, I can write books, but I'm no theory anymore. It will be fiction. Yeah, and it's more that kind of, because it's I'm 50, getting 58, I think, maybe something like that. And 58. It's really like wanting fully having that intuitive life for myself on a different level than I had before. Like also understanding service different than I did before, and everything was wonderful. What I did, I made tons of mistakes, but I mean, like what I created, I think was really a contribution, you know, and I think maybe I'm done in that kind of way of creating. Yeah, a little bit raw and unfinished, but yeah.
Yeah, but it just comes back to where we started of like being in the present moment with who you are. And that's so much what intuition and creativity are about. You know, you have to be what is coming through, what is authentic for me right now. It sounds like there's so much that your heart is longing to share that's just in a different form than it has been in the past. And
I don't know how this is going to be, but I see it. I don't have words.
Yeah, the details come later, don't they? But you see that big picture of, you know, a shift in direction, a shift in the form of your expression, and you'll still be a teacher because we're teaching by just living, you know, our lives in that intuitive way.
And you know, maybe I can also tell about that, like where I'm sitting now, you can't see anything, but what I'm me and my wife, we are creating a community space, like in the countryside. Like really, it's a bit of land and a very old, very, very old house. And we are rebuilding it since 4 years now. And so it's going to be a community place. I already had retreats here. And this is a little bit more like, again, speaking of, but systemic approach, like really living with nature and in nature and with animals and experiencing, maybe a little bit of a different, not different, but shifted part of intuitive life than I had before. I mean, like I teach mostly online, and the institute, the center has been in Cologne and still is, but it's mostly online because people are everywhere, like German speaking, but also like international parts of the world. But having this community place, like where we can really meet each other for a week or something, share experiences, having councils where we just talk and be spiritual in the most grounded way. Yeah, that is
human.
that is also something that is part of that new path, I think.
I love that. It's really been calling to me lately too. I mean, all my life I've imagined living in a different way in terms of living in community and having that approach of like, it seems like we're doing things wrong here. Like everybody living in their own little separate pod, and there's a lot of conflict and nobody seems to get their needs met, and and I've always imagined more of a communal existence or living more connected in community. And I think as more and more people recognize or see that as well for themselves, like, this is the path forward, and this is what my heart is longing for. I think that will be able to manifest in my life as well, because it's just drawing those people together. And but I love that you've already got a space for it, because that's where it starts. Where it starts on a physical level, it starts at the creative mind level with people thinking they would like to create that and really looking at that as their next step. But it starts with the land, like having the actual physical space for people to gather and connect and relate.
And at the same time, when I'm listening to you and looking at you, I'm just thinking like the whole time, like a spark coming up again and again. It's like really, the mothering, the capability of mothering is, I mean, without that, there is no community at all. And there is there's nothing without that capability. And you are mothering like 3 humans. And I'm not a mother of a human,
But you have your furry friends.
That's different, but I do mother, of course, be mothering, and of course, and I think this is a quality that is so underestimated and so, how do you say that? Not valuated, but the other thing, devaluated. Invaluation, how is it called?
Devalued or just not validated, not seen.
Yes, not seen, not
validated. About it, I think in American, like amongst other mothers, I know we acknowledge, like we do a lot of unseen work.
Yes.
A lot of the tending the hearth,
Yes.
Both on a physical and emotional and spiritual and mental level, really tending to the well-being of the whole.
Like in ancient spirituality, and like in spirituality, when you look really in the heart, it comes down to not a female body, but it's like a female energy. It's like a mothering energy. And this is like the source. This is what's coming up. It's such an the most important like quality, I think. Not hierarchical. That's so important to be seen again at what it is, like really sacred and there's so much service in it. That is part of the a little bit unhealthy society, that we think it's like something we don't have to pay for, and it's nothing special, and it's life, and we can't have community without that. This is what comes up again and again, and during our conversation when I look at you, this source.
Thank you for speaking to that. It's a quality as we kind of elevate that in society in terms of just valuing it and seeing it, whether it's mothers of people are just that mothering quality that we can each have, which is that of caring for the
Yeah.
whole, noticing what needs to happen really in terms of where there's somebody in pain that needs to be brought, into more of a loving space, or
Yes.
where there's something that needs to be tended to,
Yes.
bringing into wholeness is a quality that we can all
Yeah.
value within ourselves and develop and share.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like the female archetypes, like Kali or something, who's really like confronting what is not empowering life. Yeah,
Something
and
harmful. Yeah.
yes, uh,
Yeah. That's an important quality of the mom too. There's the yes and the no.
exactly, yeah, and the no way also.
There's the boundaries. Kali's like, these are the boundaries.
Yeah.
You may not do that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really pointing out
Mm.
where there's harm is a super important quality as well.
It's wonderful to meet you, Jean.
Yeah,
Really,
thank you for sharing this time with me, Alexandra. Yeah,
my pleasure.
we get to meet in person someday.
Yes, we have to. You have like at least Dutch or Friesk ancestors, I learned.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will make my way out to Europe again soon.
Who
Next
knows?
time. Thank you so much for sharing with me today, Alexandra, and for offering your wisdom and sharing your path in a very vulnerable and real way. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for having me and giving me space to share at another step out of isolation, another step to community and heart connection. So,
Yeah.
Dankeschön.
Yes. Danke.
Really? Very good. No accent whatsoever.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the Higher Five, and we will see you next time. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Share this with friends. Really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next time.